Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my brother my inheritance? I want to start this by saying this. I am not my parents' favorite child. As much as this might sound absurd or even biased, which might be, there's no other way to describe my family. I'm the youngest sibling, third child, but I have a sister, oldest, and a brother. My sister and my brother are just a bit older than me, at 23 and 21, while I just turned 18 last August. Throughout my life, I've always known my parents didn't particularly like me. They would treat my siblings a lot better, give them better clothes and gifts, and even gave them allowances. I was never treated badly, but I was never given anything like that. To be honest, I don't even remember the last time my parents gave me a gift for my birthday, or even congratulated me for that matter. This was the reason I started working as a part-timer since I turned 13. Washing cars, cutting grass, washing driveways, etc. That's how I managed to have some money should I need or buy things I wanted. For example, while my parents gave my siblings laptops once they got to high school, I needed to buy my own. Which is fine. They don't need to give me anything. I'm not entitled to it. But it made me very self-conscious about myself. Now to the main point. My grandfather was a very kind man, but when he passed away, he left in his will. I'm not really sure about how this works, as I know almost nothing about the law. Inheritances for his grandchildren, my siblings and myself, to finance our studies, college housing, etc. As I understand, this money would only be possible to be used after the person is 18. Now, my sister went to college and is almost graduating. My brother, however, has changed his course 4 times in the last 2 years, and every time he did that, there was a large cost associated with it, especially since he aimed for expensive colleges. Now he spent a large part of his inheritance, but probably won't be able to finance any course to the end. This is my main problem. My parents came to me and asked me to give my brother my part of the inheritance, as he has had that problem. Thing is, I'll be taking the college entrance exams in November/December, and by giving him this inheritance, I won't be able to do that, as I won't be able to afford college at all. I told them it was absurd, and it wasn't my fault that he wasted his part of the inheritance. Their answer was, he's your brother and he needs help. He'll help you pay for your studies once he graduates. That means I would need to postpone college for at least 4 to 5 years. I obviously don't want to do that, and told my parents that it was my decision. As you would assume, they didn't take that lightly. They've taken to call me an ungrateful child and an a-hole for not thinking about family. I'm constantly being shunned in my house, to the point that it's making me feel like a trash of a person. Am I such a monster? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. I strongly suspect that your brother wouldn't help you if, not when, he eventually graduates. The money was left to you for your education. You shouldn't feel any guilt for using it for its intended purpose. Yep, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. You'll never give Opie the money. Not stay home. This is the money you got and it's yours. You aren't obligated to contribute it to your brother. From the description of your post, I don't think he would help you finance your studies either. Help has to be bilateral, and it doesn't sound like he endeavored to help you throughout your life or defended you when you were in a bad position in comparison to him. You had to sustain yourself during your life and work hard in order to achieve what you have. You deserve to have a prepaid college and focus on school now. Your parents lack any say in what you allocate the money for. Not stay home. And tell your parents if they do touch your part of the inheritance that is meant for your schooling, you'll take legal action against both them and your brother. I know that sounds harsh, but if they're treating you like crap and now want to screw you out of your money, fight back. This is very important to inform them of this before they take/steal it. Send your parents an email referring to your proposition to give your inheritance to your brother, as he's responsibly squandered his own. You are formally telling them you do not give permission, and will take any and all legal action if you find at 18 the penny is missing. They may take it anyway and claim you were happy to gift it. Ensure you have proof now that is not the case, and scare them off first. Not stay home. Honestly, Opie should go visit a lawyer. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help pay for my half-brother's LVAD? Others won't help unless I do. I, male 34, come from a highly dysfunctional family. I didn't realize that when I was younger. I had 3 other siblings, biological and half. My dad, rest in peace, was not a good man. He got married right after my mom died and had my 2 half-brothers. My stepmother and I don't have the best relationship. Heck, I haven't seen her since I graduated high school. I only saw her at my father's funeral 7 years ago. My dad was mad at me for leaving home and not acting like a family member, when all he did was ignore me and my brother and spoil his younger boys. I was about to leave town, but my stepmother then called to invite me along with my older bio brother to attend my father's will hearing. We attended and the whole family was there, including my younger half-brothers who didn't even say condolences. My stepmom decided to do the will reading, and a lawyer was present. To my stepmom, the house had all of my father's personal possession. To my older half-brother Eric, my father's summer home and my father's classic car. To my youngest half-brother Morgan, $250,000 at a mechanic shop. Then to my biological older brother James and I, Dad's golf clubs, his old camera, cookbooks, and few shelves to keep them. James and I were stunned. James went hysteric yelling, saying someone had tampered with a will. But I replied that no, it's just Dad being a narcissistic a-hole punishing us for not playing family. James and I struggled a lot with finances for years, while our two half-siblings got luxury and sources of income. I stayed low contact for years after. I have decent aunts/uncles, but kept hearing about Eric's disease. I heard he lost the summer home and was struggling with money for medical bills. Then my uncle called recently saying Eric is very sick, and I needed to attend a family meeting to put money together for his LVAD. I said, why not his brother pay? And uncle said he refused to pay till all brothers contribute equally, which is fair. I asked, fair how? When James and I received nothing compared to my half-siblings, but he said my problem is with Dad, not them. I found the device is worth over $100,000, and I told him I'm not attending and won't help with anything. My dad's family got involved, saying Eric is suffering, it lost most of his belongings and that I should help. James agreed to help, but I refused, which made me feel more pressured. They told me Morgan won't pay till all brothers contribute equally, and that by saying no, I was ruining it. Not today, home. Tell Morgan you'll contribute to your entire inheritance, and to be fair, he can do the same. And in the effort of fairness, I'm sure Morgan gave OP $125,000 at half the value of the mechanics shop right after the will reading, right? Not today, home. Sounds like Morgan is trying to guilt and shame everyone to pay for his brother's treatment. Why would you bear any responsibility to pay for their medical treatment? Are they paying your bills? Have they ever? Where were they when you needed help? Sure, it would be kind and selfless to do so, but they are not asking for kindness, but expecting your payment and applying under pressure to get it. Not cool. Also, you are not a saint, but a human trying to support yourself in a tough world. Why should anyone but your immediate family expect you to support them financially? Also, I hate the response your issues with Dad. Well, when Dad's will was unfair, did they ever think to maybe try to make it right by sharing anything from their inheritance with you? Or let me guess, they took the goods and ran. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to co-sign for my brother's mortgage? My brother has never been great with money, and neither was his wife. They recently had their third child, and in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's been crazy, so they decided to purchase a home. They have a large dog, and renting is very difficult, almost impossible with 3 children and a dog, so they've been stuck in that 2-bedroom for 4 years. My brother actually makes a pretty good amount of money, over $100,000, but is terrible at self-control, and they usually live paycheck to paycheck. So they saved 20% for a home and got an accepted offer for a duplex, but the bank won't lend to them because of his credit card debt. I don't know exactly how much, she said it was around $40,000, and his bad credit history. My parents aren't able to borrow more money from the bank as they have their own mortgage, and they are now all looking to me to sign for my brother's mortgage. I have an apartment but it's mostly paid off, so I could help them and maybe the banks would okay them then. But I'm scared my brother will stop paying or be late on his payments, but my credit will suffer. I work in an industry that does credit checks for employment, so a bad credit could affect my future job prospects. And I'm getting a mortgage myself as I don't plan on being in my apartment forever. He has begged me and asked our parents to beg me, but I don't trust his self-control when it comes to his money. My mother yelled at me that her grandchildren are all crammed together in a tiny apartment, when I could just lend my credit to them and I wouldn't even have to pay anything. But I feel like I'll end up responsible for the debt if it doesn't get paid. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Do not do this. Do not do this. No, no, no. Do not do this. You will end up owing money. Your brother won't pay. You won't be able to or won't be notified. The bank will repossess the house. It will be sold for less than the outstanding balance, and you will be on the hook for the remaining amount. If the house is destroyed or sells for far less than he owes, you can end up nearly paying for the entire amount of the house with nothing to show for it. This is just a bad idea all around. Not today, home. Anyone that gives you crap can co-sign for him instead. 100%. But mom saying Opie should just share their good credit is a huge a-hole. This can damage someone's entire future, and brother is clearly a bad risk. A bad risk. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for threatening a lawsuit against my daughter-in-law? Hi, I am a grandma and I own a pretty good business in accounting. I'm not filthy rich, but I surely have a good amount of money and I've set aside a lot of money for my grandson for college, or for a house if he decides not to go to college. Every year for his birthday for the past 8 years, I've given him around $800 a year for Christmas and his birthday so he can enjoy himself. It's quite a hefty sum of money, but he's a great child, and I believe he deserves the money. He is 15 at the moment. Well, recently came forward and told me that for 5 years my daughter-in-law has stolen a lot of money from him, and some from my son as well. It turned out that she was spending a lot of money to herself. I decided to pretend that my grandson's money would be going towards college funds. It was usually through gift cards, so how would it even go towards a college in the first place? Not only this, but apparently he was barely even fed and didn't get basic necessities a lot of the time. 6 years ago, she broke up with my son and dated a man whose salary was well enough to make sure my grandson was getting what he needs. They weren't in poverty. I was furious. Not only was the money I gave my grandson to have fun being used by someone who I didn't even like in the first place, but my grandson was being neglected when they could have given him the basic necessities. I recently emailed my daughter-in-law, telling her how much she owes me and if she doesn't pay it back by the end of the year, I'm getting my lawyers involved. Well, she was furious and started using the fact that her boyfriend is a military sniper as a way to threaten me into dropping the charges. I told her I refused to do so and ignored her after that, knowing if she continued to threaten me, all she's doing is incriminating herself. My other son, who is also an employee of mine, said I was being too harsh on her and should have just let it go, and that I already have enough money as is to pay him back. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Before I get asked about this, yes, CPS was involved. There's already a case against her, but this is out of CPS realm entirely. Grandson lives with my son already, but official custody arrangements haven't been given out yet, and they aren't divorced. If she is bragging about him being a military sniper, I can guarantee you that he is in fact not a military sniper. Edit. I'm so sorry I forgot to tell you that you are 100% not a a-hole. Your intentions are to keep your grandson safe. Definitely speak to a lawyer to know what rights you may or may not have. Could a daughter-in-law and her military sniper boyfriend get in trouble for her threats? If he is in the military, that seems like something they would take issue with. Just a quick side note. Stop sending literally any money or gift cards to your grandson. Instead, just put money in an account for him and let him know. He's old enough to understand and value this. If you do get him a gift, make it a physical gift and not money/gift card. As for the money that was already taken, it might be difficult to get any of that back without documentation. If you have a lawyer, it's worth a conversation though. See what he or she thinks of it. I've stopped already. I plan on putting all future funds in his college savings account until he's 18. Any gifts from now on will be clothing, or me buying things for him while he is right there with me so he can pick out what he wants. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for never buying gifts for my ex's step-kids? Ex and I have 2 kids together. Our daughter is 15 and our son is 13. Our breakup was pretty nasty, and custody is pretty complicated ever since. Ex decided without telling me that he wanted to be a stay-at-home dad and quit his job after the birth of our daughter. It was a rocky time for us, but I had no issue with him staying home. He said he would talk to me first in the future and we moved on. But he was an awful stay-at-home parent. He didn't cook or clean, refused to go back to work, and would leave all the general chores to me. He took decent care of the kids, and that was the most important thing. It was just how little he invested into anything else. Then I found out he was only married to me because of my success and paycheck, so I divorced him. At first he was supposed to get equal custody, but then the judge found out he was lying about his ability to get a job so he could get child and spousal support, which he didn't qualify for the latter anyway. But the former would be based on his income. And he did have a good job after I kicked him out, so it wasn't possible. Anyway, I ended up with primary and he ended up with every other weekend, which increased after he realized I wasn't going to support him. He got married 5 years ago. His wife has 5 of her own kids, but my kids get along okay-ish with them. They feel like they don't really have much in common with them, and they complain about the cramped space in their dads, but no huge problem with anyone. I never bought for stepkids. I always felt it was X's responsibility to do it with our kids. He always complained and I ignored it. But in the last year and a half, it's been more and more complaints. Right before the start of everything shutting down, I got my kids a Switch each so they could play games easier. Both them and I love the game. Then I got a family console for the new gen last year, though I only got that in June of this year. X knows about the stuff I have bought, and he is livid that I buy the stuff for our kids, but never give gifts to his stepkids. Or as he put it, buy gifts from our kids to his stepkids. He thinks it should be my job, since it would be extra gifts and more money spent on his stepkids, who have nobody but him and his wife who care. It's caused a lot more tension of late. I feel like this is just him trying to use me again. But these are kids, so I wonder, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your ex is being ridiculous. It's not your responsibility to buy anything for stepkids. Not the a-hole. You can't demand that you'll buy them stuff. It's not your liability to sustain the stepkids. You don't have a familial affiliation with them whatsoever. It sounds like your ex-husband is jealous of the things you can provide for your kids because of your lucrative income and only 2 kids. Maybe it feels like there is an expectation of him to buy those things too. They always keep them here, with the exception of friends' houses. I don't like the idea of their kids seeing what mine have and making them jealous, but I also don't want anyone there trying to keep them. Not today, home. You are not responsible for anyone but your own kids. How is the new wife with you? Is that relationship okay? Nope. At one time it was okay at first. Then after they got married, a fight over Christmas came up, and things have not been okay since. Basically, we have this thing in our city where they do a Christmas village, and you can test out some of the upcoming cool stuff, but you need to pay. They wanted me to pay for them to go as a family because I brought my kids. She expected I would say yes. It never got over that I didn't.
First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not supporting my brother's wedding? We barely talk ever since he and his ex-wife, Dana, divorced 2 years ago. My wife and I sided with Dana because he'd left her for his mistress and didn't even try to fight for custody of my 2 nephews, 12 and 9. She's still like family to us, and we're more involved in her life than my brothers. He wasn't happy that we stopped inviting him to our home for get-togethers because we always invited Dana and the kids instead. There was a lot of family drama. My parents took his side over this, and we went low contact for a while. We only started seeing each other again a few months ago, but we aren't as close as we used to be. My brother has tried to talk to me more, but I'm only short and civil with him. It wasn't just the cheating that did it for me, it was also that he didn't care about being involved with his sons after they split. I heard he and the mistress are now engaged, and they plan to have the wedding sometime next year. To my surprise, my brother asked me if I could be his best man, since I did it before. He told me he understands we haven't been close in a while, but this is his wedding, and he wants us to get past everything and be brothers again. I asked him if his sons were also going to the wedding, and he was quiet for a few seconds before saying he hasn't talked to them in a long time. I didn't expect him to say yes, but I wanted to confirm for myself that he'd rather mend our relationship than the one he had with his kids. I told him he's my brother, and while I do love him, I will never support the treatment of his kids or this marriage when all it did was cause pain to 3 innocent parties we care about and love. My wife is on my side here, and I know there's no way I'll ever go, but it's hard to not feel like a jerk when my entire life, my family has ingrained that belief that loyalty to blood comes before everything, and we always support unconditionally. I know sometimes that's not a good way to think, and I've tried hard to detach myself from that belief. It's been harder now when my parents won't stop talking about it, and they can't believe after years, I still chose to hurt my brother when all he wants is happiness. Yes, they're a bunch of hypocrites, but still, I can't get them out of my head, and a part of me does feel like the bad guy for not being supportive during what's supposed to be the happiest day of his life. Basically, the entire family is looking at me like a traitor, just like they did when they divorced. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It makes no sense to be best man at a marriage you don't support. And the whole thing about a blood relation being very important isn't true. Someone being blood related gives you no obligation to them if they are treated you or others horribly. As the saying goes, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Which doesn't even really matter since your nephews are blood related anyway, so just leaving them is gross. My uncle did this to his 2 daughters, and my cousins grew up just hating him and having severe emotional issues. My mom basically had your attitude about it. My favorite part of all this BS is them saying nonsense like loyalty to blood when the kids are literally blood related to them. And even if they weren't, they're still his kids. All the brother wants is happiness, but clearly no one but Opie and his wife gives a damn about the kids or their mother's happiness and well-being. Not the a-hole, of course. Not the a-hole. Loyalty to blood? You're being loyal to your blood nephews and their screwed over mother. I'm sorry for all involved that this has happened, but you have every right not to be there for your brother. Yep, agreed, not the a-hole. Brothers are blood, but his children aren't his blood? WTF? Good on you and your wife for supporting the kids, who are completely innocent. Except for when it comes to his own sons? Perhaps they should try a different angle on the guilt tactic. Not the a-hole. If you want to be involved in the wedding somehow to work towards mending things, offer perhaps to attend as a regular guest, or send a present if you don't want to go but still desire a gesture. Yes, that's where I point out the hypocrisy in their statement, but to them it's that they're still supporting him unconditionally despite his own flaws. And no, I don't want to be involved in his wedding. Like I said, I don't support it, or his marriage. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not supporting my cousin's relationship? My younger cousin, 23 female, and I, 27 female, have been super close since she turned 16. We did most things together, and she even lived with me for a bit when she turned 18. It's been great, and I even see her as more of a little sister than a cousin. From ages 13 to 25, I dated and was engaged to Mark, 27 male. My cousin knew him well. When I turned 25, Mark and I had a serious discussion about marriage and children and ended up breaking up. He had lied to me our entire adult relationship about wanting marriage and kids. It killed me. My cousin was there for me the entire time. You can probably see where this is going. A month ago, my cousin announced she was pregnant and engaged. I was excited for her until I went over for a celebratory family cookout and met her newly moved in fiancé. Guess who it was? Yep, it was Mark. My world came crashing down, and I just left. I didn't say anything. I just walked out. Family tried calling me. My cousin tried calling and texting me, but I didn't answer anyone. After about a week, I finally answered my cousin's call. She told me she needed me to be there for her, and she knew it was weird, but he was going to be family, and I should be happy for her. I told her I couldn't support any of this, and to please not contact me again. I now have family telling me what's done is done, and I need to get over it because cousin is getting married and having a baby. That I need to think of her, and that this is an exciting time for the family. I told everyone to F off, and if they support this, not to contact me again because family wouldn't do this to each other. They called me a witch and told me it's been 2 years, that no one owns a man, and I needed to shape up because this is happening. I blocked all of them. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Most definitely not the a-hole. What she did was terrible. She knew you all were together for all those years and broken up, and she still dated him. That's basically betraying you. I'm sorry you have to go through that. I'd bet it started before they broke up too. Went from girlfriend's cousin to baby mama really quick. And is nobody curious why these two were even in contact after the split? Especially if cousin was comforting OP. Honestly, the fact that they both knew about the relationship drama, got together so soon after your major breakup, and kept their relationship from you only to reveal it at a suitably dramatic moment in front of your entire family, makes me wonder if they didn't do this to you deliberately. If this is an exciting time for the family, how come you didn't hear a thing about your cousin's mysterious fiancé until she could spring this on you? Not the a-hole for going no contact after that. From what you say, it seems that Mark told you he didn't want children when you had been under the impression that he did? That is celebrating his impending fatherhood as soon after he ended a long-term relationship over exactly that issue. Makes me wonder if he was already interested in your cousin and was lying to you in order to break your relationship off. I'm just an internet speculator, so take that with a grain of salt, but I've heard of scenarios like that before. Not the a-hole. Your cousin can marry whom she likes, but you don't have to be there for it. I'm sure it's tough on your family too, but it's disappointing that they are all siding with her, after you were in a relationship with this guy for 12 years, including engagement. Now, for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to show up to my, 22 male, dad's gay wedding? My parents were married for 27 years. My dad is 52 and my mom is 48. It was discovered about a year ago that my dad had been cheating on my mom for the last 4 years of their marriage with another man. My dad also had hooked up with numerous older men over the course of their marriage. My mom caught him in bed with his boyfriend. My dad said he was bi and they tried to work it through. It didn't work, as my dad was still sleeping with his now 24-year-old boyfriend on the side and admitted he was gay. When I found out, I cut my dad out of my life. Over the past year, I have let him back in. I love him, but I just can't get over what he did to my mom. He and his boyfriend have gotten engaged, and my dad wants me to be his best man. I can't bring myself to this. I feel like it'd be betrayal on some level. I told him this. He broke down. He apologized for what he did to me, my little sister, and my mom. He said that he didn't want to hurt anyone with his actions. He said that he told his parents about having feelings towards men when he was my age, and they flipped. They threw him out, trashed all of his belongings, and treated him like less than a person. That even his friends dropped him once it got out that he liked men. He said that he only felt like he had a normal life if he began dating and married a woman, and he did this with my mom. This story was heartbreaking, but I couldn't. I want to be empathetic, but I can't. He cheated on my mom for years and built a family with her knowing he wasn't into her. I told him I didn't care about all of that crap, and that I would never be his best man and wouldn't go to the wedding. After telling my dad this, I received a very angry call from his boyfriend telling me how I'm a monster and an awful son. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you take gender out of it, and your dad had a 24-year-old girlfriend that he cheated on your mom with, you'd still be justified in not wanting to be part of his wedding. Even the 24-year-old part would get me to not the a-hole without the cheating. Not the a-hole. You've mentioned nothing about him being gay being a part of your disdain. Sounds like you would have reacted exactly the same if it was a female he was cheating with. I feel like this is worse. The dad knew he wasn't into the mom from the beginning. He used her as a beard and effectively ruined her life. She could have gotten married to someone who actually loved her and not someone who used her to get accepted. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my sister to be my maid of honor at my wedding or godmother to my baby? 4 years ago, my sister Izzy was catfishing a guy, James, with my pictures. This only came to light as she has been asking him to move to our area, and James had done it, so she had to come clean. James and I were both there for this confession, and neither of us spoke to Izzy for a while after. 6 months later, I saw James again. We got to talking and exchanged numbers. It was just friendly at first, but over time it grew into something more romantic. When we'd been together for about a year, we told Izzy, my brothers, and my divorced parents. Dad and brothers are happy I'm happy, but Izzy and Mom both flew off the handle. We've been together 3 years now, and this time, we have interacted mainly with Dad and brothers, and less so with Izzy and Mom. Izzy has had therapy and genuinely apologized to both of us, but the catfishing, plus her reaction to our relationship hasn't made a good relationship between all of us. James proposed early this year, and I accepted. We agreed on waiting to get married given everything going on, and then a month ago, we found out I'm pregnant. So the wedding is officially a solid 2 or 3 years away. Despite us telling Mom this, she's been calling me to talk about wedding ideas regularly. Mom called today, again, to talk about bridesmaids' dresses. During the conversation, she said that not only does she expect Izzy to be my maid of honor, but also godmother to the baby I'm carrying. Her reasons for this are that Izzy is my sister and planning on making me her maid of honor when she marries, and that Izzy is already godmother to my 8-year-old son. I expressed discomfort with both of those ideas, and Mom asked why. I told her that given everything with Izzy and James, I'm not sure this is the best idea. Mom then said that all of that was over 5 years ago. We said we'd forgiven her, and at some point, you have to let bygones be bygones, especially as we accepted her apology and she's gone to therapy. And if she hadn't gotten James to move here, then we never would have met at all, and the baby/marriage wouldn't be happening at all, and that she was ashamed of me for excluding my sister over the past. Izzy has since contacted me, agreeing with Mom that I'm being unnecessarily harsh and saying that she's apologized and it all worked out, and she's not sure what else she can do to get me to get over it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Glad your sister is getting the help she clearly needs. Your mother is definitely the a-hole for trying to choose your bridesmaid and godmother for you, whether it is your sister or not. Even if you didn't have the history with your sister, it is always your choice. Not the a-hole, obviously. You don't even need a reason not to pick her as maid of honor. That is not a decision others can make for you, and not a decision you have to justify. Having said that, you have every reason not to want her as a maid of honor or godmother. They know full well why. I'm guessing the reason they are pressing this issue is that if they can force you into complying, they can feel like they've been absolved of their transgressions. My advice? Don't jade. Don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. Not the a-hole. Mom doesn't get a say in who will be maid of honor or godmother whatsoever. Izzy messed up royally and has to earn the trust she's so royally messed up to earn even an invite to the wedding. Considering how much Mom favors Izzy, might want to tell her if she doesn't change her tune, she and Izzy will not be invited. Your mom doesn't seem to care about boundaries whatsoever, and you have to make them abundantly clear. Am I the a-hole for not changing my name back to what it was? So, I joined the army straight out of high school against the wishes of my parents. Basically, they thought I was just having a semester off after high school before going to college, and since I have a late birthday, late August, I waited until I was 18 so I could do it without them knowing. The day before I shipped out for basic, I sat them down and told them I was leaving for a little while and that I'd joined the Army Reserve. My parents always hated the idea of me going and always berated me when I brought it up. I left for basic, and after I finished basic, during my 30-day leave, I called home and asked them if I could stay with them. I knew they were probably still mad, but I didn't expect them to say, "I don't have a son," and hung up. Fast forward 3 years, I'm in college, live in a big city, and have a lovely girlfriend who I live with. My parents came to visit me, and they profusely apologized and wanted to be in my life, and I foolishly accepted. I had changed my name after AIT. For those not in the military, basically you choose a certain job, and after basic training, you have to report for job training. So if you're an infantryman, you'd go to infantry school. I changed my name because I wanted to leave my parents in the past, since they obviously didn't love me like they said they did. A few weeks had gone by, and they would always call me by my old name and not my new one. When I corrected them, they always shrugged it off. Finally, they sat me down and asked me if I would change my name back. They felt I owed it to them since they raised me and yada yada. I told them they were the ones who left me in the dust, and that I'm proud of my new name. Can't really explain it, but I feel like my new name is just to better me, and that I have worked hard for it. They called me selfish, and said if I really forgive them, I have to show it. And I told them I don't owe them jack and told them to get out. Haven't spoken since. My girlfriend thinks I'm being a bit excessive. Am I? Edit. I feel like I may be the a-hole because I kicked them out of my house for something small, as my girlfriend put it. I don't think I was being unreasonable, but my girlfriend does. Absolutely not the a-hole. Sorry, but this is a bit of a silly one. They don't like your life choices, so they dump you. You leave your past behind and move on. They ask for forgiveness, which you do, but then demand you return to your past self? They're the ones who are selfish. They're the ones who are unreasonable. If they were truly sorry and wanted to move on, they would understand you. I guess, but is it really worth my relationship with them? I love them to death despite what they think of me, and I do want them in my life. Then that is something you have to work on with them. It doesn't mean you have to give in to demands. Relationships are a two-way thing. You all need to work on rebuilding this. As much as you love them and want them in your life, you should realize that yes, they're your parents, but they also did a really horrible thing to you that doesn't deserve dropping and rolling over, just because they gave birth to you. Sometimes parents are kind of horrible people. It's up to you how much you're willing to put up with it. Is it really worth my relationship with them? This is the question you need to answer yourself. It may be the same question but reversed. Is having a relationship with them worth having to deal with them in such situations? Not a-hole. Forgiveness never needs to be proven. When people make and then act on a decision, they are, at that moment, accept any and all consequences for that decision. In other words, they made this bed. Now they have to sleep in it. And I'm so curious. Why were they so against you joining the reserves? In my opinion, joining the military is an honorable choice, and a smart one, especially if you want to go to college, as they'll pay for it. Do you plan on going active duty and going to OCS, Officer Candidate School, after you get your degree? This isn't about the name. They want to go back to how things were. You with your old name and in your old dependent position, and let's all forget about the part where they disown their teenage son for a career choice. You can forgive, but you have no obligation to forget. Still less to let them move back into that position. You're absolutely not an a-hole to say. If they want a relationship, it has to be on new terms, where they accept you are an adult and don't berate you for your life decisions, starting with your name. Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for saying I have no siblings when I have a half-sister? I'm 23 female, was born about 2 months after my mom found out my biological father had gotten another woman pregnant. My half-sister, Lucy, was born 3 months after me, and that crap was tough. Kids would ask questions and tease me about it. Teachers would make a huge deal out of it, and would then say she was my best friend and make us sit together every class and do school projects together, up until we were 10. My biological father never cared. He would always dismiss that it was hard. He would tell me a sister was a better gift than being popular anyway and stuff like that, and that I should be proud to have such a cool family. He never truly got over my mom, and he wanted to get back with her, but he also hoped if they got back together, she would take Lucy on too. This was despite him actually marrying Lucy's mom. When it didn't work, he did his best to make us a united family. He would even make us celebrate our birthday between hers and mine. So I always had my birthday acknowledged at his house way late while she got an early birthday. And parties there had to be shared, and even though I didn't want to celebrate, he and Lucy's mom would force me to. But I hated it so much. I knew what he had done. I knew it was messed up and it never went away. One time, I told him he needed to apologize to my mom in front of everyone, so they wouldn't say horrible things about her anymore. I was 12 at the time, and he told me not to be silly, and it was in the past. I ended up choosing not to see him anymore when I was 16, and I haven't seen him since. Lucy tried to keep in touch, but it always made me so uncomfortable being around her. She was shoved down my throat so much, and I was teased about her in our situation, and I never ever developed a relationship with her. Maybe I did when we were kids, but I can honestly say as an adult, I do not miss her in my life, and I told her I wasn't interested in a relationship. I don't tell new people I meet about her. I've always said I have no siblings. A few people close to me get told eventually, but only because I don't like to continue to hide something like that from the people I care about. Anyway, she recently started working with some friends of friends, and we ran into each other through them. Which she then brought up the fact we're half siblings, and one of the friends of friends said I always said I had none. It was weird, and after, she got my number from someone and sent me some messages saying I was an a-hole, and it was an a-hole move to not acknowledge her existence when she did nothing wrong. And then we saw each other again, and she told me to my face that everything I was doing was way worse than anything her parents could have done, and that I should grow the hell up and learn to love her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your half-sister is not at fault for being born, but she can't demand to be loved by you. Love doesn't work like that. Your dad and stepmom are really messed up. They prevented you and Lucy having a normal relationship because they forced you to play happy family. While I agree with you 100%, I think it's pretty sad that Opie's sister probably has developed that kind of love for her. Since birth, she was told over and over how they are sisters and how they should love and care for each other. And that's probably something she got to develop for Opie. And being avoided like that must hurt her a lot. Not the a-hole, but while I understand why you don't have any want in a relationship with her, I hope you understand that she is 100% not at fault for what happened. Your dad is. I can understand being upset at your father, but taking it out on her by choosing to not say you have no siblings is hard. I'd suggest saying you have a half-sister, but that you don't really have a relationship with her. I get that. I just can't deal with a relationship with her. She reminds me every time that my father decided to mess up my family and that things was harder over the years. And she will never truly get it because her core family, her parents, were together and are still together. While I had to go through the chaos of divorced parents and blended families and the messed up things people would say to me as a kid. It's not her fault, but I don't think it would be possible for me to ever truly want her in my life. No a-holes here. No a-holes here except your dad and that teacher. You and Lucy are both just the victims of circumstance. It must have been hard for both of you growing up. Your experiences and personalities are different. That means the two of you have reacted differently and have different coping strategies. You prefer not to have her in your life, or have to explain all the weirdness about having a sibling when you don't see her as a sister. She wants to have you in her life and seeks love from you because, for whatever reason, she does see you as a sister. Those two are not compatible, unfortunately. Both of you have had understandable human reactions, and I don't think you should be too hard on yourself or on Lucy for that. Of course, she feels hurt that the sister she always wanted pretends she doesn't exist. Of course, you feel awkward and threatened when the stranger you never wanted tries to get close and act like your sisters. There's no easy out to any of this. You don't owe her anything, and you must be true to yourself. But try to view her and yourself with compassion. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I don't want to care for his 2 children so he can see his other child? My husband, 42, and I, 26, female, have been married for 4 years, together for 6. I am an immigrant. I came in the US with a K-1 visa to marry him and never left, of course. He has 3 children, 13 male, 11 male, 9 female, from a previous marriage. My relationship with his children was always good. He's really involved in their lives, and I respect that. On the other hand, my relationship with the rest of his family is bad. No one agreed with our marriage. They tried their hardest to separate us. Our age gap and the fact I'm foreign don't sit well with them, and they don't want to believe I really love my husband. Well, all their efforts pay off, as my husband's oldest son doesn't want to see me anymore, for absolutely no reason. We had a good relationship before, and I don't parent any of them, but out of nowhere doesn't want to visit if I'm here. Of course, my husband is hurt by this situation. I get that. Fast forward, he decided he would see his oldest at my parents-in-law. I wasn't thrilled about it, as I know they will talk crap about me, but at least he could see his son. When he visits his oldest, I have to care for his 2 other children because he has weekends custody and they don't want to go to their grandparents' house. Understandably so. I didn't mind at first. It was just an afternoon every 2 weeks. But last weekend, he stayed a full weekend at his parents' house with his oldest. Not only his 2 other children didn't see their dad all weekend long, but he called them for like 10 minutes total, and of course they were sad. When I confronted him about it, telling him it was clearly favoritism and it wasn't fair on the other 2, he denied and said they needed to spend more time together. He then told me to not start a drama about it. I was really calm, so I didn't understand why he was saying that, but then we cut it short and moved on. But come yesterday, he says that he plans on spending a weekend a month at his parents' house, as well as spending an afternoon every other weekend. Okay, fine, but don't expect me to be a nanny all weekend long, I said. And he was like, seriously? You're my wife. You should help me. As a husband, you should try to fix the situation so we can all be home together, I said. Now, I'm well aware that as a wife and a stepmother, I should be willing to care for his children. And I'm willing to, but not for a full weekend. I don't mind taking care of them for a day, but these kids also need their father too. He was mad and called me selfish. I understand that he wants to spend time with his oldest, and I'm all for it. But I don't think he needs to spend a night there. If his oldest get all the father and son time in the world, he will never want the situation to improve and the other 2 will suffer from it as well. Now for the top comments. As his wife and stepmother, you should be willing to be a team and partner in parenting. And it clearly sounds like you are being a partner and he is not. You are far more mature than your husband. His neglected kids will see the favoritism. It's obvious. Not a a-hole, and please, think long and hard before you have any children of your own with him. I'm glad you see the favoritism, and that I don't make things up. Good thing I don't want children of my own.
Most likely when he visits his son, your husband gets to sit on the couch and not parent nor do chores around the house. Basically, he gets a pass for being a parent. He is a nahal for letting a 13-year-old rule the family. So, he has 3 other kids, but ditches 2 of them with you and spends his time with his eldest alone? When he should be with all 3. Yeah, you're not the a-hole here. Sure, there's some level of responsibility to help co-parent your stepchildren. That's what you signed up for when you married into a family with kids. But he should absolutely be there with all his kids, not just the eldest. If there's tension, he needs to be resolving it, not avoiding it by showing favoritism and leaving you to pick up the pieces. Not the a-hole. This situation is not okay. Either he takes all the kids with him to his parents' house for every visit, or his 2 youngest stay with their mother while he visits his oldest. You are not a live-in nanny, and this is not something you signed up for. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for planning for my daughter to be the only kid to have a private bathroom in the house we're going to build? My husband, 41, and I, 37, have wanted a new house for quite some time. After much discussion and realization that none of the homes we looked at fit our tastes, we decided to take on the project of having our home custom built. We are a blended family. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Meanwhile, my husband also has a 14-year-old daughter, as well as a 15-year-old daughter. In the house we're currently living in, my husband and I's bedroom is downstairs and has an ensuite bathroom. The kids' rooms are upstairs, but there's only one bathroom on that floor. My 14-year-old daughter is very diligent about her appearance. She has a lot of followers in social media. People at school always say how good she looks. And she books acting and modeling jobs occasionally, so she always wants to leave the house looking good. She has been very much into the YouTube and Instagram product craze, so she has a very complicated multi-step routine to getting ready. She gets up about an hour early to get ready for the day, but regardless, the bathroom arguments have become intense. Every day her stepsisters complain that they have to brush their teeth in either the master bathroom or other downstairs bathroom with no shower so they are not late. They complain that her products are all over the place, and that there are napkins, stains, whatever else, or that her hairspray smells too strong. My daughter's last name rhymes with Vane, so now her brother and step-siblings call her last name Devane when they argue. My daughter gets upset, and is very uncompromising when I suggested shortening her routine. The bathroom situation was priority number 1 yesterday when my husband and I discussed the blueprints of the house. After a lot of suggestions about various possibilities, I asked my husband why not just give my daughter's room an ensuite bathroom. The other 3 kids have no problem coexisting, so they can have the hallway bathroom and be done with it. It seemed to be the cleaner setup, and my stepdaughters didn't have to complain about the multi-angled and full-length mirror, which was what my daughter wanted for our current house. We told the kids about our decision, and my daughter said, "Yay!" But the other 3 kids were in uproar. My son asked why blank Devane is getting rewarded for being vain. And my stepdaughter said that if my daughter didn't have to deal with my son's occasional grossness, or sharing and waiting for that matter, they shouldn't either. My husband said he's willing to discuss, but doesn't care as long as these arguing stops. But I told them that this was the best decision specification-wise. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You're literally rewarding someone for not cleaning up after themselves, and refusing to compromise with their siblings, and forcing 3 people to have to share because one can't deal. Your favoritism is showing through, and your other 3 children don't deserve this. You're the a-hole. Get your daughter a vanity for a room. She doesn't need to be in the actual bathroom for all steps of getting herself ready. Surely you can see how this might upset the other kids in the house. I had a vanity since high school, and it kept my sister and I from fighting over the bathroom. Lol. OP or the a-hole. This is such an easy solution. Apparently, she already has one. She just has several products that she uses in the shower that she has to leave on for a certain amount of time, and demands to monopolize the bathroom all morning every day to do so. I don't think my eyes can roll any further back.
First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister move in with me? I, male 39, lost my son James 2 years ago. He was only 9 years old and he suffered from leukemia. It was the most devastating loss I've ever experienced. He was my everything, and seeing his health decline was very terrifying. I hoped and prayed that he'd get better, even kept asking why and wished this nightmare never happened. He passed away in my arms, and I remember this vividly. He slept for a few hours and passed away at home. I suffered a lot during the first few months after his death. My ex-wife made it worse by dragging me to court dates and doubling down on my pain and misery. She thought she was making me pay for my own son's death, making it seem like I had something to do with it. She made it worse and was able to get my family on her side. She took away precious stuff that belonged to my son and made it worse. Funny, she was able to move on real quick. Got married and had a baby in a short time period. My sister, who always been mean to me, has contact with her. They're close. My sister would constantly bring my ex up and everything that happens in her life to spite me, telling me to do the same and move on, get married and have children, knowing how upset that made me. My sister also helped my ex get extra stuff from my son's belongings without telling me. She made remarks saying she'd name her new baby after my son to make it feel like my son never really left, and so that there's still a James in the family. Like my son could be replaced. My nephew James is 7 months old, and I never approved of her to honor my son like this. She was being disrespectful of my son's memory, and I ended up not talking to her for some time. Last week, my mom called me to tell me that my sister had a big fight with her husband and moved out, and was planning on starting divorce procedures. She asked if I could take her in for a while, till she solves her issues. By the way, I have 2-bedroom apartments and is very small. If I let my sister move in, that means she'll take my son's room. And I wasn't feeling like I should let her in after what she did, frankly. My mom didn't like my response, and started talking about how my sister was supportive of me during rough times and that I needed to return the favor. Told me to stop being bitter because she took my son's name. I asked her to tell my brother to help, but she said that he said sorry but he has no room. I was getting tired of arguing with my mom, who kept insisting to let my sister move in, but I refused and turned my phone off, which then resulted in more pressure by both parents. Now for the top comments. Block the whole lot of them. That's not your family. You just grew up with them. Not day-hole. I second this. Who the hell in their right mind sides with the ex-wife in this situation? F those people. You don't owe them anything. Not day-hole. Your family sided against you with your ex-wife, especially your sister. She did not support you. You have no obligation to help her now. Your family sided against you with your ex-wife. For this reason, you should tell them that they should ask the ex to take her in. You're not day-hole. This is your home. Even leaving out everything else, you are not obligated to let them stay with you. Tell your family you'll be happy to speak with them once they drop the issue. I'm so sorry for your loss. I've already spoke to my mom and told her how much this upsets me, but she keeps claiming I'm being negative and unsupportive of those who supported me during rough times. Part of me believes strongly that my sister saw my grief as something to take advantage of, and she too made it worse. And honestly, I have no idea why I allowed her to go that far. I guess I wasn't capable of confronting her and anyone else who kept making hurtful comments and didn't understand how hurt I was. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not kicking out my nephew to let my sister move in? I, 35 male, own my house. The layout of the house is important. The basement is a mother-in-law suite, a medium bedroom, a living area, and a small kitchenette along with its own full bathroom. It has its own entrance. The first floor is the kitchen, dining room, and a great room, powder room, and a mud room connecting to the garage. The upstairs is the master bedroom with a master bath and massive walk-in closet. There are 2 more bedrooms along with a bathroom and a laundry area. One of the bedrooms upstairs I have turned into my office. I am currently working from home full-time. In April, my nephew Alec, male 20, came home from college because of current events. Alec is the oldest of 6 kids, and my sister, female 37, has a bad habit of making him take care of his younger, male 10, female 8, male 6, male 6, female 3, siblings. He reached out to me and I let him move into the mother-in-law suite. He has been living with me since then and we have had no issues. He does not pay rent, nor do I want him to. A couple of weeks ago, my youngest sister, 29 female, came over. She and her husband are having financial problems since her husband lost his job. She has 2 children, 6 male, 4 female. She asked if they could move in with me for a while. I told her that I didn't think it would work because I only have 1 empty bedroom and I don't think that 4 people would fit very well. She said that she figured she and her family would move into the mother-in-law suite in the basement. I told her no, that was my nephew's area. Well, she started throwing a fit about that, about how she needed room and he didn't. I didn't budge. I knew what was coming next, so I spoke with Alec, telling him what his aunt asked, and telling him it was his decision whether or not to give up his space. Sure enough, she went to talk to him, and he told her he didn't want to move upstairs. She started ranting about what an entitled a-hole he was and more. I should say that my youngest sister, let us call her Anne, has always been jealous of Alec. His mom was just 17 when she had him, so of course she was still living at home. Anne was the baby of the family until he was born. She was jealous of him since the day he was born. After she calmed down, she said fine, they would take my bedroom, using the walk-in closet as a bedroom for the kids. I said no to that, and also to giving up my office. Well, she started ranting about how I never helped her, and basically just yelling at me. I told her that I was not throwing Alec out of what we both think of as his space for her. Anne stormed out and started complaining to our family. My oldest sister, Alec's mom, thinks that Alec should move back with her and Anne should get the mother-in-law suite. My mom agrees with her. I told them all that they don't get to vote on what happens with my house. Now they're all saying that Alec and I are both a-holes for not helping Anne. I think they are ridiculous, but I thought I would post here for outside opinions. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's your house, and so you can do whatever you like with it. It's not your fault for your younger sister's problems, and she's not entitled to anything of yours. Why doesn't she stay with your parents? Why does it have to be you and not anyone else? Or even her husband's family? My mom does 2 empty bedrooms currently, but Anne and my mom have a difficult relationship. However, I agree that living with my mom would be a possibility. Not the a-hole. Your house, your choice. It's as simple as that. Would it be nice of you to shake up Alec and your lives to let her family move in? Of course. It's also super nice of you to let Alec live there in the first place. You are not the family hotel. And your choice to be one doesn't make you an a-hole at all. It's quite literally none of your mom or sister's business what you choose to do with your home. Even Alec is only there by your choice. None of them have any innate right to your space. Anne and Alec do not get along. Anne has been jealous of Alec since he was born, and she's shown it. Alec knows how she feels and doesn't care for her either. My guess, and I haven't asked him, is that if it had been someone else besides Anne, he might have decided to move upstairs. The next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole for refusing to bow to emotional blackmail? In order to maintain sanity, my wife and I have eliminated contact with our sister for the past few years. There has been bad blood between her and my wife for years, which spilled over to me when I lost my job, and we decided jointly that I should be a stay-at-home dad until our children started high school. They started school and I went back to work full-time. There were several comments made, with alcohol involved, on my masculinity and lack of work ethic, which escalated one gathering with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law shouting at my wife, my kids in tears, and me saying I've had enough, and I left and sat in the car. My family came out a few minutes later. Later, mother-in-law and sister-in-law decided the argument was my fault and that I should apologize to everyone there. I refused, and since then, it has been a constant barrage of tears and emotional blackmail from my mother-in-law on how I'm tearing the family apart. I have never said my wife and kids cannot attend family events with a sister-in-law. I just chose not to do so. To be fair, I'm not a saint and have made a few snide comments of my own, but they have always been in response to digs. So this year, mother-in-law issued an ultimatum. Either all of us, myself included, attend her family Christmas gathering, or my wife and kids are not invited. This is common of the emotional blackmail that's been played over the course of our marriage. My wife has always asked me to be the better person for the sake of our kids, but I'm really over it. So, if I refuse to attend, and thus ensure my wife and kids are not welcome, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. My therapist said something really meaningful to me. She told me a story about how her son threatened to hold his children against her, and how he was going to make it so she wouldn't be allowed to see them. She said the very first time it happened, she decided not to let it go any further and told him without hesitation, "Okay, That's fine. I won't see your children. I'm not going to let you dangle my own grandkids over my head. If you're going to treat my grandchildren like pawns, then I don't want any part in it. That's the first thing. Ultimatums like that are ridiculous, and it's clear that no one is going to be happy. Secondly, sometimes being the better person is not always truly being the better person. Do you want your kids in an environment like that? What if another fight breaks out at a tense family dinner? It's better for your own mental wellness, but most importantly, your kids' mental wellness to just discontinue contact with them altogether, not just for Christmas dinners. If they aren't completely awful, maybe they will realize that using families and real people as pawns wasn't a great idea. If they don't realize that, well then you're better off. Capitulating also models for their children that should accept mistreatments. Not Dayhall. Call her bluff. You should all stay home and have your own family Christmas. Start your own traditions. Tell your wife that you will not be bullied and manipulated by her family anymore. Tell her the price is too high. If they are going to punish their own daughter/sister because they like to control everyone, so be it. Your wife needs to learn to stand up to her family. They get away with their bullshit because everyone gives in to them. And is she going to kick out her daughter and grandkids on Christmas? That's a bigger tell than anything. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to reimburse me for one half the cost of my wedding from 10 years ago? My younger sister got engaged a couple months before COVID. Neither of us are close with our parents, and we are the only siblings. I am 7 years older and more established in my career. My sister and her fiancé struggle financially, which is to be expected as they are just starting out. I am not rich by any means, but I've always done my best to help them when I can. Groceries, rent, etc. Because I know that they would never get any help from our parents. When they announced their engagement, pre-COVID, I was happy for them and offered to help them with some of the wedding costs and throwing a bridal shower. Then COVID hit, and all plans came to a grinding halt. My sister is incredibly impatient and doesn't think before she acts. She is asked about the bridal shower numerous times. I told her that we could not do this right now due to the pandemic, and also that my financial situation has changed and I would not be comfortable spending this money until my work hours were back to normal. I also have bills and kids that need to come first. She got angry that I was unsupportive just like our parents, which pisses me off immensely as I have done a lot for her, and decided to elope at City Hall a couple weeks ago. They didn't bother to tell anyone and just made a rude and dramatic post about it on Facebook. Not that anyone cares, but we got married today blah blah blah, and then went on to berate individual family members in the comments. No surprise that she ruffled quite a few feathers with this crap. She is not the first family member to elope, so the eloping wasn't the issue. I got a message from her earlier asking me about when we were having the bridal shower. I told her that we weren't, and that bridal showers are for before weddings. No one would go now anyways. She got upset again and made a comment about how she had not received any wedding gifts yet either. I told her that she likely wouldn't be getting anything, as not only is it not customary to send a gift when someone elopes, but she's acting like an entitled jerk. She panicked. I guess she had been banking on these gifts, and then suggested that since I received over $6,000 worth of gifts 10 years ago, I should have to give her one half, and also still give her the money I was going to for the wedding, and that she had quit her job after the wedding because she thought she was getting this money. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I lost my temper with her entitled crap. I refused to give her any more money. In my opinion, she should not have quit her job. I also told her that I'd write her a check for one half the gift as soon as she paid one half the cost of my $40,000 wedding. Now, she's whining on Facebook about how I'm petty, and now she can't afford her rent. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's time your sister grew up and learned that there's no such thing as free money. Exactly. I seriously wonder what kind of upbringing she had to think that getting married means free money. The entitlement here isn't real. She needs to grow up and learn how the real world works. I honestly think she is just incredibly immature. She's 20, but acts much younger than she is. Not the a-hole. Who quits their job during a pandemic on the hopes that they will be gifted with money that absolutely nobody has promised them? What the actual F? I am speechless. I agree 100%. I know that she hated this job. It's her first job ever. I told her to start looking for another one before quitting. She doesn't think before she does things. Not the a-hole. Your sister sounds like you've spoiled the crap out of her, and now she's become too expectant on your money. Only thing I would say is that some brides can have events after an elopement. My best friend eloped this year because of COVID, and we're still going to have a full wedding for her next year. Yes, we've had other family members who had eloped and then had a get-together after. However, they didn't announce it to everyone on Facebook for shock value, and then go off on a rant insulting everyone who refused to ignore COVID in the comments.